What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning the WBC, Tyson Fury, and Dillian Whyte. The WBC has handed an ideal time for Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte to order in December. The World Boxing Council chiefs have the opportunity to order Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte for December following confirmation of Anthony Joshua's next move. Joshua will battle the stipulated challenger Alexander Usyk on September 25th in Tottenham Stadium in London, ruling out a meeting with Fury in 2021 due to the fact that Fury is taking on Deontay Wilder on July 24th, and Joshua is now tied up potentially until the spring of 2022. The WBC has an ample time to give Whyte his shot. Given Whyte has waited since 2019, although on and off because of the loss of Povetkin, Eddie Hearn should implore the WBC president Mauricio Sulaiman to act as soon as the fight with Wilder gets done. The only potential problem for Whyte is whether the WBC sees the Wilder Trilogy battle as a mandatory defense. This outcome could happen as the Bronze Bomber is ranked number 1. In February of 2020, the rematch got counted as the mandatory for Wilder. Therefore, it could be a case of vice versa. That and only that reason should keep Whyte from waiting any longer than necessary. Speaking to Sky Sports recently, Fury refused to comment to moving straight to Joshua after Wilder, and he stated, "I've got to get past Wilder, then those guys will get their 5 minutes of fame. I'll give them the biggest beatdown they've had in their lives," said Fury. "I'll deal with these guys later. The important thing to me is Wilder. He is the most dangerous heavyweight in the world who would knock out Joshua in one round. As I told Eddie Hearn, the difference between me and him is he's a businessman and I'm a Spartan. Fury versus Joshua is one of the whole world and the UK wants to happen. However, Joshua delaying his outing until September was unexpected. AJ gave a date in August to initially battle Fury in Saudi Arabia, and we all know what happened there." So, reading this article, okay, to counterpunch this article, this tells us absolutely jack shit. Tells us nothing. Because it's the opportunity, by Phil J. Shouts out to him for this article of the WBN. And he's like, well, the Chiefs have the opportunity to order Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte for December following the confirmation of Anthony Joshua's next move. But chances are they won't. Why? Because, for one, we don't know what Tyson Fury and Wilder is going to produce. We don't know what's going to happen. And even if he beats Wilder, right? They're still talking about, well, Wilder, was this a mandatory defense? Now, why the fuck would it be a mandatory defense? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would the WBC order this a mandatory defense? But the real question is, why would they order Tyson Fury the mandatory for Wilder when Wilder had the belt? That's the question you ask yourself. Now, why would that be the case if it really didn't supposed to be the case? See, Dillian Whyte was supposed to be on temporary suspension until his dealings with UCAD was settled out. He had no problems with VADA. The only thing that WBC the only drug administration that they used was VADA. So why did VADA get involved with UCAD? That's the problem. He passed VADA. So as far as the VADA tests, they had no problem. But Mauricio Sulaiman, being the piece of shit that he is, used the UCAD testing, which he doesn't even know the protocol of that testing, to kick Dillian Whyte out. And what he did was, since Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder were going to sign a deal to fight anyway on a two-way contract, he made it easier for himself to further kick Dillian Whyte out by making Tyson Fury a mandatory, which he knew damn well he had no business being a mandatory. You know why I know this? Is because Deontay Wilder just knocked out the so-called mandatory fighter, Trouble, Dominique Brazil. Right? I mean, that was 2019. He knocked him out in 2019, right? They fought in February of 2020. So how can you have two fucking mandatories back to back? Counterpunch. See what I'm saying? That makes no sense. Dillian Whyte's supposed to have he's supposed to have been the interim guy after he fought Oscar Rivas, okay, on around that same date. You know, and since that finding or whatever from UCAD, you know, they used that to override their own test, which is stupid, right? And then they made Tyson Fury the WBC mandatory for Deontay Wilder. So basically what the WBC did, they made two mandatories back to back, which makes no sense at all. If you get what I'm saying, he beat Dominic Breazeale, which was the mandatory, and then they remandated Tyson Fury to fight Deontay Wilder. So they knew Deontay Wilder was going to fight Ortiz, right? Because he already said it and signed that deal to fight Ortiz. And then they made Tyson Fury the guy after that, even though Tyson Fury was fighting Otto Wallin or whatnot, and just because he beat Otto Wallin, they made him the WBC mandatory instead of Dillian Whyte. See, Dillian Whyte and Wilder should have fought February. That's what's supposed to happen. But Deontay Wilder, since Deontay Wilder wanted to fight Tyson Fury once again, he had such a hard-on to fight this guy again. That fight was never made, and he used Mauricio Sulaiman to do it. I know exactly what happened in that. He wanted to fight Tyson Fury. Mauricio said, fine, that makes more money. I get more in my pocket. So therefore, right, we'll make Tyson Fury the mandatory, and Dillian Whyte can have his date after that. But what happened to Dillian Whyte? Dillian Whyte got knocked out in 2020. So it's one of these things where, Phil J, I know this sounds good in a perfect world. If the WBC were about their integrity, this would be the case, but it's not. Okay? They won't make Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte. Now, had Mauricio said something, you know, about this, instead of, we are working on to find a good fight for Dillian Whyte. He has been waiting long time for this. And I think that maybe sometime next year. That bullshit. But he won't make anything happen for Dillian Whyte, no. So this won't happen. Dillian Whyte won't get his opportunity. In a perfect world, it would be, but it's not a perfect world, okay? This is the sport that I love, that I hate so much for this reason and this reason only. With Tyson Fury, if he beats Deontay Wilder, okay, you know, who's to say he won't fight someone else? That hopefully, because of what Tyson Fury said, he may get the opportunity. But if Deontay Wilder beats Tyson Fury, I don't see that fight happening. I would love it to happen. I want to be wrong. People think that, oh man, you're wrong. You want this, you want them to duck. I don't want anybody to duck. I want people to fight who they're supposed to fight, according to the rules that they made. Not me. I didn't make the rules. You know, I want to see certain fights, but I didn't make those rules just to make myself right. I want to be wrong. So I hope Deontay Wilder, if he knocks out Tyson Fury, and he may fight Joshua, who knows? I'm not sure. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. But if he doesn't fight Joshua, he should fight his mandatory. Because Tyson Fury is just a contractual agreement to fight Deontay Wilder, and that's not a mandatory spot. But I'd be damned if they make it one, we'll know why. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this article of the possibility of the WBC making or pushing for Dillian Whyte versus whoever the winner is of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.